Good morning. Edward Snowden is the most wanted fugitive in the world. A recent Associated Press poll showed that American public believes that 50% of them believe that he's a traitor, 50% believe that he is a patriot. Edward Snowden's actions of leaking classified documents in the summer of 2014 is both illegal and immoral, based on two premises. First, not following the tradition of civil disobedience, knowingly breaking the law, but yet unwilling to accept the consequences. And second, as a public servant, not doing his job. So first, set up the context for you. 9/11 was considered by many intelligence experts as the worst intelligence failure in U.S. history. Subsequent after that, U.S. Congress posted a law called the U.S. Patriot Act, which describes different procedures that are given to the intelligence communities to prevent such attack again. And of course, lots of money for that. But yet, the U.S. law still prohibits collection on Americans through the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, search and seizure. So describe what Edward Snowden's biggest premise was how the U.S. intelligence community was spying on the American public. I'll demonstrate this to you. So first, you have this public entity of the American people. And by U.S. law, U.S. intelligence community are not allowed to spy on U.S. citizens. So you have the NSA, which is the National Security Agency. And they're responsible for the signals intelligence and collection on foreign assets. Then you have the Government Communication Headquarters, which is a UK organization, which is similar to the National Security Agency. After 9/11, they passed what's called the US-UK Agreement, also known as Five Eyes, which is a collaboration between the Australians, the New Zealanders, Canadians, the British, and the Americans. And that allows spying amongst collaboration between signals and intelligence. So the NSA wants to stop homegrown terrorism and stop intelligence, and want to stop terrorism occurring in the United States. The NSA can't collect data on there. And so the NSA allows the British intelligence agency to spy on the American public. From the data collected by the GCHQ, the GCHQ passes that information to the NSA, which in turn then passes it to the FBI. Passes it to the FBI and CIA, thus allowing the FBI and CIA to be able to act on information collected by the British intelligence agency, which is passed to the U.S. intelligence agency. This is illegal. This is continually allowed by U.S. code and subsequent laws. Edward Snowden saw this as illegal and immoral, but I'll describe to you how it is actually not. But to describe the first context, there's people involved. Edward Snowden's family has a long history of federal service. His grandfather is admiral of the U.S. Coast Guard. His father is officer of the U.S. Coast Guard. His mother is a deputy prosecutor in the state of Maryland. And his girlfriend has no clue what his job is doing. After 9/11, Edward Snowden went into the Army Reserves as he signed up to be a special forces operator. After 9/11, he wanted to serve his country in some capacity. But he was actually forced out of that due to a serious leg injury which occurred during training. With his computer skills that he'd been learning, and he had small side jobs, he was eventually hired by the NSA. And previously, his previous employer was the CIA. And he was contracted by the NSA as a network administrator to work at the NSA Hawaii, which is a data collecting center in the Pacific. In the event, while working for the NSA, Snowden had copied a bunch of information relating to this diagram that I showed you before you, and also the domestic activities that NSA did in America. But there is an important point to note. As a report by the Associated Press, General Martin Dempsey's testimony as the chairman of Joint Chief of Staff to Congress, saying that most documents copied by Edward Snowden were not related to the domestic activities by the U.S. intelligence agency, but actually related to military capabilities, operations, tactics, techniques, and procedures. Very important stuff related to the military operations. Afterwards, Edward Snowden contacted journalist Glenn Greenwald, which is part of the Guardian, which is a British newspaper, by releasing classified documents that wanted to whistleblow on what the U.S. believed. Snowden flew to Hong Kong, personally met with Greenwald. Eventually, news started to report out that he had released information. He posted a video taking claim to it. Currently, he's living in Russia under asylum rules. So first, we'll examine the motivations, justifications for his actions. In a video released, he explained how he believed that this was illegal, that the American public did not understand what the U.S. Intelligence agencies were doing. And he believed that yet U.S. Congress was passing these laws, but the American people really don't know nor understand what they were doing. He mentions how he considered that the only way that he could do this was to whistleblow. Yet, through a subsequent investigation, they found that Edward Snowden actually only sent one email to the NSA Inspector General inquiring about the legality of this and whether it is proper for the U.S. community to do this. And he responded with a canned response, and that is the only documented instance in which Edward Snowden actually pushed out and saying that this is wrong. In conclusion, Edward Snowden's actions are both illegal and immoral. We're not here, and I'm not here to describe whether this is legal or moral. It's simply Edward Snowden's actions. And his actions, both as a public employee and through the release of classified documents, numbering the tens of thousands and up to the millions, was both illegal and immoral. As described by Professor David Cross, ethics professor at St. Clair University, and he described the difference between Martin Luther King and Edward Snowden on the point of civil disobedience. The key difference pertains to King's conviction that all those engaged in civil disobedience must be willing to accept legal punishment for their actions. At the bottom, this concern is a way to reaffirm the value of the law itself. Moreover, submitting to such punishment is a way to affirm by word and deed the moral good of the public community. By contrast, of course, Snowden now sits in Russia, avoiding such accountability and thus undermining the value of the law in the public community. He's subsequently saying that Edward Snowden should actually come to the United States and face his legal actions. If he did that, then it would be legal. And the final point, as employed by a public service, being a public employee, as described by Barbara Redmond, who is a Harvard Fellow and visiting professor, the duties of public employees. So first, as a public employee, serves the entire public, protecting its freedoms, its interests, and common good. The public deserves its first loyalty. Such perspective may as well be challenged, but is similar to professionals whose ethical duty is to their clients, which supersedes the loyalty to the employee agency. Ultimately, Edward Snowden, his actions of releasing thousands of classified documents is both illegal and immoral, both based on the premise of which previously stated. Thank you.